Oh my goodness, we actually got to go 3 off. The value here is just too much. This is really too much. Memory Guardian, because why not? You need a Wrath now to beat us, opponents, because you're about 1 turn away. Man. Oh, man. I don't know why Wizards thought it was a good idea to bring back Affinity to the game, but that was just too easy. Hello, my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the hottest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, we are finally going to be touching upon our first budget deck tech utilizing the latest cards from Aetherdrift.
Vroom, vroom.
That's right, so without further ado, join me today in the Explorer format because it is time to rock Robot Affinity. Longtime viewers of the channel know how we do it. We have to talk about the stats of the deck before we dive right in. So our robot deck today is going to be based upon Azorius colors of white and blue. You're looking at an average mana curve of about 3.3, which does look a little misleading, but I'll explain how that works in just a bit. We're going to be having a total of 16 creatures, 4 instants, 4 sorceries, 28 artifacts, and 24 lands. Robot is actually a brand new creature type that was recently added in a while ago from Doctor Who, but this is actually the first set you're going to have a chance to see robots added into an official standard set, so this technically means this is the true debut of this creature, and I'm super excited to take advantage of this creature type with our deck today. So to put it another way, you're going to be trying to build up a ton of constructs, a ton of artifacts, and utilize the robots to take advantage of them to smash our way through victory with a ton of value that they can provide. But you may be asking yourself right now, how can such a small pool of a brand new creature type utilize so much value on such a small budget?
Well, you got me.
Well, I'm glad you asked, so without further ado, let's not waste any more time and show you what we're talking about. Starting off with the creatures in our deck, in the 2-drop slot here, we will have Guidelight Optimizer here. It's a 2-mana, 2/1 robot artifact creature and allows it to tap itself for blue mana. You can only utilize that mana, however, to cast an artifact spell or activate an ability, so it's great for early game ramp. Now, of course, the real star of the show is the card we're going to be talking about right now. And man, I love what this card can do here. This is Metacant Core Guidelight. It is a 2-mana Asterisk and 3 legendary artifact creature robot. The core's power is equal to the number of artifacts we control, and also it has the brand new Start Your Engines mechanic. If you didn't see this from the previous stream that we did, I'll talk about this just for a moment here. If you have no speed, the card will allow us to start at 1, and we increase our speed once of each of our turns as long as an opponent loses life. Our max speed hits when we get to number 4. If we do have max speed, then the secondary ability of this card triggers off. What that reads is, whenever we cast an artifact spell, you can pay 1, and if you do, you can copy that spell. So once this is out and we get max speed, we can start copying all of our artifacts, then double them up to get some more value out of our whole deck. As far as the 4-drop slot is concerned, we all will have Guidelight Synergist here. This is a flying robot here that gives also a +1/+0 pump for each artifact we control. So as we keep getting more artifacts out, this will be a flying menace against our opponent, and if they don't have an answer, this should easily close out the game very quickly for us. And then finally, in the 5-drop slot here, although technically you won't have to cast it for 5 because it has the affinity for artifacts. If you don't know what affinity means, it just says that a spell with an affinity for artifacts costs 1 generic less mana to cast for each artifact we control. So this will get basically cheaper and cheaper the more artifacts we have out. It also is a 3/4 flyer, so it provides great value for us as the game progresses. Moving on now to the non-creature spells, and we will definitely need a lot more artifacts to get more value out of this deck. In the 1-drop slot, we will have Portable Horror, one of our spot removal cards. When this artifact enters, you exile a non-land permanent an opponent controls with a mana value of 2 or less until the Portable Hole leaves the battlefield. We will, of course, need a little bit more power than that to then just keep getting rid of stuff our opponent may cast at us. So we're going to utilize a brand new card also from Aetherdrift here, Perilous Snare. So let's talk about this card for just a moment. Perilous Snare is a 3-mana artifact that reads Start Your Engines. And when this artifact enters, you exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until this artifact leaves the battlefield. If we do manage to get to max speed with our engine ability here, you can then tap this artifact to the +1/+1 counter on a creature or vehicle we control. You can, however, only activate this at sorcery speed. Either way, this is an incredible card that will provide us more value and more power to all of our robots to do more damage and hopefully close out the game very quickly. We will need a little bit more value than even that, so we will also utilize Simulacrum Synthesizer here. So this is an incredibly, very powerful artifact here. When this enters, you scry 2, and anytime we cast an artifact we control with a mana value of 3 or greater, you get to create a construct token that's a 0/0. However, it'll get +1/+1 for each artifact we control. So you kind of already now figured out what the game plan is. Get out the Synthesizer, start getting out a bunch of our robots, and then get a bunch of value. Remember that again, Memory Guardian and Guidelight Synergist are going to be the key cards to create us more of those constructs. And our final 2 spells that take advantage of the affinity that we will have for artifacts will utilize Metallic Rebuke here. Technically, this is actually a counterspell that utilizes Improvise. So in order to use Improvise, we have to tap additional artifacts to make the cost of this spell cheaper. But if we do, it's basically going to be a 1 mana counterspell for us, which is really solid for our game plan. And the final card to round us out and to make sure we get a little bit of extra card draw and also support to protect ourselves is going to be Voyage Home. Although this does look like a 7 mana sorcery, with the affinity for artifacts, you can potentially cast this as cheap as basically 2 mana to gain 3 cards and gain 3 life. That is an incredible amount of value as long as we have enough artifacts to support this. As far as your mana base is concerned, again, this is a budget deck, so we're going to keep this as simple as possible. 7 plains, 7 islands. The Lonely Arroyo are actually a pretty solid land for us, mostly because, again, the pinging ability this hits will allow us to, of course, trigger off the Start Your Engines mechanic once we get that going. We will also utilize Port Town here. Remember that in paper, however, this is still considered a rare land, but it is an uncommon in Arena, so we're going to take full advantage of that. We'll also have a single copy of Amonkhet Raceway here with the Start Your Engines ability. If we hit max speed with this simple land can then tap down any one of our creatures to give it haste until end of turn. And then finally, if in case we need to build up a couple extra artifact creatures, we can then utilize the Mirex here to create some Phyrexian Might tokens to again just give us a little bit more support for our artifact game plan. If you're interested in taking this in the best of 3, here's what I would recommend for you for the sideboard. Soul Guide Lantern here is going to be your catch-all removal for the graveyard. Excellent card, and it also synergizes perfectly well with our artifact plan. However, we will utilize a single copy of Calamity's Wake. This can exile all graveyards and then prevent our opponent from casting non-creature spells, at least for just a single turn. We'll also utilize Sheltered by Ghosts here, which is unfortunately not an artifact, but as this enchantment aura is just, it really is just too good to ignore. Again, it provides protection by giving our creature Ward 2, gives it lifelink, gives it a +1/+0 pump, and also it exiles a non-land permanent and opponent controls until the aura leaves the battlefield. We will need to make sure we can push through even some of the weakest of chump blockers, so Team Pennant here is going to be a great equipment here that gives our creature +1/+1 and Vigilance and Trample. If we do need a little bit of extra support with protecting our game plan here, we'll utilize Diversion Unit here. This is a robot that's a 2/1 flyer, and you could sacrifice it for 1 blue mana to counter an instant or sorcery spell, at least unless of an opponent pays 3 for the cost. And then finally, if we wanted to give mass protection to our whole game plan here and prevent ourselves from getting Wrath, we'll utilize copies of Make a Stand to round out our package. Gives all of our creatures indestructible and an extra +1/+0 pump. But otherwise, that is the whole game plan for you in a nutshell. So I don't know about you, but I'm super duper excited for this deck in particular because I love the fact that robots here are finally in Arena. So without further ado, let's play this in the Explorer format and let's see how well the deck can do. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content. You can support me monthly for a small amount on Patreon, where I have all of my extended bonus footage posted. We also have a Redbubble spot where you can buy merch like stickers and shirts, or for free, all you can just do also is just join our growing community on Discord. Your support helps keep this channel going. All links are in the details below. All right, my fire friends, here we go. Can we rock robots with Affinity in Explorer? Well, the good news is we do have enough lands, but we are awkwardly on the wrong set of lands. Maybe we can draw into what we need. Let's see. Let's keep this. I know someone out there is probably going to yell at me because I'm not keeping the right hand, but we're going to hold on to it. So we will play Amonkhet Raceway. We can start our engines. Okay, Steam Vents shock themselves. We'll play Guidelight Optimizer. Okay, well, at the very least, this will get our whole game plan going now. Consider. All right, opponents. Throwing away some card draw there. What are they playing? Sleight of hand. Okay, lots of card draw. What could this possibly mean? I guess we'll find out. Sleight of hand again. Wow, that's a ton of card draw. Are they spell slinging? I have no idea. In any case, we'll worry about that once we worry about that. Synthesizer. We get to scry 2. Okay, so now we can get our lands. Swing here. All right. Second gear.
Second gear!
Shout out to those that like One Piece. You guys know what we're talking about. All right, in any case, we now shift into third gear. All right. then with that, now, this is where the real fun begins. Alright, here come the tokens. Memory Guardian. While granted our opponent will get to draw a card off of this, which is annoying, it's totally worth it to just start overwhelming our opponent with the amount of card draw we're going to get. Or I should say the amount of constructs we're going to get. Make them big. Got an answer to this, opponent? That's right, keep drawing your cards. I don't mind, because we've got plenty of power behind us now. Ooh, lightning axe. Alright, well they take out one, but we don't care about that because we have plenty of constructs already. I'm assuming this is the Arclight Phoenix decks? Raise and Borrower. Alright. Annoying. That's fine. We can still get through our game plan here. It's not a big deal. Alright, Synergist. So, let's see. How do we want to do this? I guess play the Synthesizer again. Do you have an answer, opponent? Wow, they Spell Pierce. Okay. Well, I mean, that's annoying, but it's fine. We still can kind of push through damage here. Right? There are 4/6 now, but we have two 5/5s, so we can still push through some damage. Down to 10. All right, opponent, clock's ticking. And we also now get to maximum overdrive. Or I guess I should say max speed, but you get what I'm saying. 2 cards in hand, opponent. 2 lands open. What else do you got? Anything left? Ooh, they Treasure Cruise. All right. They're digging. They're digging deep. Still digging. Okay, still digging. Alright, well they've refueled, but is it enough for them? Another land. Sleight of hand again. Tons of card draw. I don't know if it's actually an Arclight Phoenix deck, because we're just going off of Ledger Shredders. I can't tell. Okay, Lonely Arroyo, so ping our opponent. Okay, so here's how we do this here. We'll tap you down. We will play Guidelight Synergist. Pay the 1. Maybe? No! Fortunately, that we still get the trigger no matter what, so we'll still pay it. So we still get some beefy creatures here. Alright, swing here. Opponent, you need to block at least 1 with both if you want to survive here. Oh wow, they double blocked with both. Alright. That's a choice. So still at 9. Alright, opponents. Clock is still ticking, and we also have a way of refueling anyway. They haven't had a chance to do a scratch on us, so I still think we're in a really good spot here. Treasure Cruise again. Alright. They're definitely digging deep. But they don't have a choice. Ledger Shredder number 3. Wow. It's one thing I will say is, though, this Izzet deck has definitely got a lot of fuel, and they are using it as much as possible here to get through. But it's still not enough with all these big robots and constructs, so we still take the victory here. Oh man, I love what robots are doing. Man, you could say robots rock.
Boo! You stink!
Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can our robots rock it with Affinity in Explorer? Well, the good news is we have our I cannot say this word right now. Simulacrum Synthesizer. Words are hard, by the way. Anyways, we have the card what we need. We have some counter spells and a portable hole, so this should be still good, regardless of whatever our opponent's going to try to do. Play the planes first, and we will pass. Alright, opponents, show me what you got. Okay, tap land. Is it Domain, or is it some kind of control deck? I guess we'll find out here. Guess we'll play the planes, and we will pass. If nothing happens next turn, we'll put down that Synthesizer, and we should be good to go. Once we get a couple big artifacts, it'll be pretty much lights out for our opponent. Slide a hand. Okay. Is this the same deck we're facing off against before? Is it some kind of combo deck? Spellslinger deck? Who knows? Another Shockland, but they're only tapping it. Wise move, opponent. I'm pretty sure you don't want to start losing life when you have no idea what's in store for you. Port down. We will reveal the island. Play the Synthesizer. Scry 2. Oh my goodness. Yes! If this somehow sticks, oh, this is going to be horrible for our opponent. We'll just keep that.
A few moments later.
Okay, so here we go. It's going to be so devious here. No, seriously, it actually is going to be pretty devious here. All we have to do is just get down an extra Synthesizer, assuming our opponent doesn't have anything, and there we go. Let the constructs begin. Building themselves up here. Okay, so we will keep everything as is, and we will pass. So the good news also with this plan right now is we have Metallic Rebuke, so we are ready to start counterspelling anything they throw at us. We cannot have that stick, though, because that is kind of nasty, so that gets counterspelled. Sorry, opponent. Denied. But if they have anything now would be their turn to just start taking us out here. If they have any removal for our constructs, that'll be annoying, but it is doable to get around. Anything? Okay. Maybe I shouldn't get ahead of myself here, but this is going to feel so dirty right here.
This is where the fun begins.
Oh my goodness, we actually got to go 3 off. The value here is just too much. This is really too much. Memory Guardian, because why not? You need a Wrath now to beat us, opponents, because you're about 1 turn away. Man. Oh, man. I don't know why Wizards thought it was a good idea to bring back Affinity to the game, but that was just too easy. I kind of feel a little bad, but at the same time, I don't, because that's what you want with the deck to do. You just want to steamroll your opponent before they have a chance to answer you. Oh man, this is such a lovely deck. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can our robots rock it with Affinity in Explore? Well, the good news is here, we have a bit of a slow hand here, but we don't worry too much about that because we will be able to hopefully build up to our value with what we have. We have a Mechatent core, so we can start putting down stuff and start speeding up, and also we have a portable hole for some spot removal in the early game. Okay, so with that, Lonely Royal, our opponent for 1. All right, opponent, what do you got? Forest, Elvish Mystic. Okay, so this is good for us here because this is what we actually want. Almaket Raceway. Start your engines. Vroom vroom, by the way.
Vroom.
Okay, another forest. Alright, looks like it's probably going to be either mono green or, okay, maybe it's just all elves. Either way, we still have an answer for our opponent here, no matter what. Ping our opponent. Second gear. Alright, surveil land for our opponent. Even though we haven't had a chance to put down any artifacts yet, next turn should definitely be our turn. Ooh, Elvish Archdruid. Ooh, actually, we might want to take care of that probably now. We don't want that to stick too long, because that's actually going to be really gnarly for us if we let that stick. So, Perilous Snare. That's got to get locked out now. Sorry, opponent. We cannot allow them to go off with that. But we will be able to ping our opponent here. Wow, well, these desert lands really do help with trying to speed ourselves up here. This has actually been pretty good for us. However, our opponent here is also going to start going off here if we're not careful, because now they're going to start going wider. So, can we get around our opponent here? Mechatent Core. Memory Guardian. Gotta start putting up a defense. Our opponents. Deep Crown Vision. Ooh. Ugh. I don't know if we'll be able to survive this, because they're going wider and faster than we are. If it's nothing else, I mean, elves do have that advantage versus us. Block 1. Down to 12, though. All right, we really need to start making some gains here. So, can we get there with a Voyage Home? Come on, deck. Show me some love. Okay, gate 3. Probably is going to be the one we're probably going to lose. Even if we don't survive this one, you can still see, probably one of the biggest weaknesses to the deck is if other decks are more aggro or faster, we will get blown up here pretty quick. We could probably sponge at least 1 hit here at best. Yep, there it is. Big swing. All right. Well, no choice. I'm going to try to see if I can survive this, but I don't really have any hope at this point. Block here. Block here. All right. Ugh. Yep. We're going to survive that, everybody. But, I mean, hey, it is what it is. At least you can see, again, what one of the major issues with the deck is, which we will address in just a moment once we get to the wrap-up here. But otherwise, still, not too shabby for the deck. We got quite a few wins, although we did get kind of blown out there. And there you have it, everyone. So that was robots for you for the Explorer format. And you tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Would you play this deck in any way, shape, or form? I'm not going to lie. I absolutely had a blast playing this deck. It's actually probably going to be one of my most favorite decks I'll be playing as we go through 2025. Hopefully at least until maybe, I would assume, maybe Edge of Eternities in the summer. Once we get the space set, I'm sure we will get even some more awesome robots once we get to that point. But until then, I honestly think this is actually a really solid deck, even at budget level, that I would highly recommend to anybody out there if you're a fan, of course, of artifact synergies and the affinity mechanic. Man, this deck was so much fun. However, as you kind of saw from our last game, the biggest weakness, of course, that I want to address with the deck, as always, is if your opponent can go wider or faster, and there'll be several decks that can do that, you will get blown out. So just keep that in mind and try not to get too cheeky if you don't have enough removal. The deck also has a major weakness, of course, that we do not actually have any wraths, but of course, on a budget, you can't really afford that. And of course, the idea is you don't need them because with Simulacrum Synthesizer out, you should hopefully be able to build enough constructs where that really won't matter against your opponents. But again, your mileage more or less may vary. Now, if you do like the deck and you do want to take it to the next level, if you've made it this far into the video, give a shout out below because you are my true fiery friends. And because of that, I'll be more than happy to show you how you can make this deck rock even harder than it currently does. As far as upgrading the deck to take it to the next level, here's what I would recommend for you. To be honest, the main deck thankfully doesn't really need to be changed, so you can pretty much keep everything as is. The only thing you would really want to upgrade as always, and I tell you this a million times if you've seen all of my videos, upgrade your mana base. I cannot stress that enough. Seriously, at least for this deck, that's pretty much the simplest way of upgrading everything. Just again, get rid of the majority of your plains and islands here. You can just basically add in Hallowed Fountains. Lonely Royal can actually be kept if you want to just make sure you can hit max speed. Keep, of course, the Mirex, but add in another copy of it. An Inventor's Fair here will actually give you a little bit of extra life each turn since you'll have a ton of artifacts on the battlefield. Keep the Amonkhet Raceway as well because we want to make sure we can still haste out some things if we need to in a pinch. Sea Crow Coast and Meticulous Archive will round out the other dual lands that you're going to want just to make sure we can filter through our draws with its surveillability of Meticulous Archive. And Sea Chrome Coast, of course, will enter untapped as long as we have 2 or fewer lands, so this is great for the early game. For the upgrades to the sideboard, this is what I would also recommend for you. We're going to take out that Team Pennant. We're actually going to put in Shadow Spear here. This is a much more powerful option for you that also can turn off your opponent's hexproof and indestructible stuff if we need to also in a pinch. Grafdigger's Caves will also replace another one of our graveyard hate pieces here just to make sure that nobody can do things like Collected Company or way out of things. Rest in Peace will be hard removal for all graveyards, and thankfully for our deck, we actually don't care about having a graveyard, so this doesn't hurt us at all. We'll throw in a single copy of Skrelv's Hive here. This will just create for us a couple of extra Phyrexian Mites, which may seem a little on the slow side here, and we're not really a toxic deck, but we mostly just want this to give us basically free artifacts, so that way we could trigger off Affinity a lot faster. You can keep Diversion Unit here if you need to, just again to just up your count if you need more creatures and counter spells. And then Dawn's Truth here is going to be your only other thing you'll be able to upgrade into here. So instead of Make a Stand, you'll have this instead, which can give you the choice of hexproofing your stuff, or if you want to gift your opponent a card, that'll ensure that everything gets not only hexproof, all indestructible for all permanents that you control. And with that all out of the way, here are my final thoughts that I now want to give on the deck. Overall, yes, I'm a bit biased here. When I honestly saw robots, I knew I had to put something together with this. But seeing the Affinity mechanic also being added in as previous season was ending made me realize this is actually going to be even better than I expected. I was very satisfied and super happy with how it turned out. But honestly, robots really do hit a little different versus just regular constructs. So I would definitely say, if you are a fan of Affinity, if you're a fan of going big and going wide at the same time, and if you're a fan of the new creature type that is robots that bring something a little bit unique to the table, then I would definitely say, give this deck a try, and I assure you, when you manage to build up a giant army of both robots and constructs that get super big and synergize off of each other, you're going to have a lot of fun doing so, and you'll be very surprised at how much you can pull this off on a budget, and you will definitely not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!